これより会場後方の通路から後期を先頭に総長並びにご来賓として早稲田大学特命教授、早稲田大学国際文学館村上春樹ライブラリー顧問ロバート・キャンベル様、元総長、将棋委員会長、副総長、常任理事並びに教職員が、もう一方の列では学術委員長、学部長、研究課長並びに教職員が入場いたします。All honored guests, as well as the President and the members of the Executive Board, will now enter from the back of the arena hall. 後期に続きますのが、田中愛治第17代総長です。Following the university flag is the Waseda's 17th President, 愛治田中。
Welcome to the Fall 2023 Waseda University Entrance Ceremony. We are live streaming the ceremony for family, guardians, and other guests. Today's ceremony will also be broadcast at the entrance ceremony of the Graduate School of Information, Production, and System on Kitakyushu campus in Fukuoka. To begin, please allow me to introduce our honorable guest, Mr. Robert Campbell, is a university professor at Waseda University and advisor for the Waseda International House of Literature, the Haruki Murakami Library. Mr. Campbell will deliver today's congratulatory address. I will reintroduce him later in the ceremony with an overview of his career. To begin, President Aiji Tanaka will offer a welcome address to our incoming students.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Aiji Tanaka, the president of Waseda University. On behalf of Waseda University, I'm delighted to welcome you all incoming students to Waseda University today, September 23, year 2023. Congratulations on your entrance to Waseda University. I extend my heartfelt congratulations also, of course, to your parents, other family members, and friends. I'd like to take this opportunity to offer some words of welcome. It is our great pleasure to hold this entrance ceremony in person today. After 3 long years, we are able to conduct a real full version of entrance ceremony in our traditional manner. We have been preparing to welcome you all and to provide the best possible educational environment as a leading private university in Japan. During COVID-19 pandemic period, we replaced all the air conditioning systems with brand new ones with capacity to circulate 30 cubic meters per hour per person in each classroom. Therefore, you can feel safe attending in-person classrooms at Waseda. We are now pretty much recovered from the COVID-19 pandemic. It exerted an extremely negative impact on our student life, on your student life, on our life as well. And also at all institutions of higher learning. At the same time, the COVID-19 pandemic also taught us a lesson. This kind of crisis has a greater negative impact on those who are weaker or members of minority. The COVID-19 pandemic was a more severe experience for those who are less affluent or less healthy, and for those students who are living away from their own families. We must be considerate to those people who suffer more from a tragedy due to their particular circumstances. For example, let us imagine how fearful and uneasy students from Ukraine studying at Waseda feel now. At the same time, let us imagine how our students from Russia feel as they look at what their own country is doing, and how scared they must feel about other people's perception of them. It is important to emphasize with how other people feel and to considerate of people different from yourself. This ability is an example of what I mean by flexible sensitivity. Waseda University has a tradition of encouraging student diversity. Since my inauguration as the president of Waseda in November 2018, I have stressed the importance of flexible sensitivity, by which I mean that is the ability to accept, understand, and respect people of different nationalities, different ethnicities, different languages, different religions, different cultures, different creeds, different physical conditions, and different gender and different sexual orientation from your own. Please foster your flexible sensitivity while you are at Waseda. Another important value is intellectual resilience, with which to develop your own solutions to problems for which there is as yet no answer. COVID-19 is one of those problems. There are many other problems like this: global warming, the growing gap between the rich and poor, the invasion of a smaller country by militaristic government forces, and so on. You name it. It goes on and on. No one has a complete solution to any of these problems. Indeed, no single solution may not exist. It may be that there are multiple solutions to each problem. It is your task to come up with your own solutions to these and other as yet unknown problems. While you are studying at Waseda University, you must learn how to use your own brain to think about the solutions that the world community of human beings require. I hope you will all cultivate intellectual resilience at Waseda. I have also been advocating a new long-term goal for Waseda to make Waseda one of the world's top-tier universities, even if it may take 2 or 3 decades. Consider some examples from the United States. In the early 1930s, the top American schools, including Harvard, Columbia, and Yale, were far behind their top European counterparts, such as Oxford or the University of Paris. But they were committed to try to catch up. It took those top American schools 40 years to catch up, but they managed to do so by the early 1970s. It is time for Waseda to set our sights high and commit ourselves to that goal. We faculty members and administrative staff pledge to do our very best to provide you with an educational environment that will allow you to graduate with confidence to contribute to human society around the globe. Please study hard while you are at Waseda, but at the same time, enjoy your student life. When you graduate from this university, I hope you will have found at least one thing to which you devote yourself. You are determined to devote yourself. Once again, I wish you a wonderful student life at Waseda. Best wishes to you all. Congratulations.
I would now like to outline the career of our distinguished guest, Robert Campbell, University Professor at Waseda University and an advisor for the Waseda International House of Literature, the Haruki Murakami Library, who will deliver today's congratulatory address. After graduating in 1981 from the University of California, Berkeley, Professor Robert Campbell received his PhD from the Department of East Asian Language and Civilizations at Harvard University. He moved to Japan in 1985 as a research student at the Kyushu University School of Letters and became an assistant professor there. Subsequently, he was appointed as an associate professor at the National Institute of Japanese Literature and an associate professor at the University of Tokyo's Graduate School of Arts and Sciences, where he became a professor in 2007. In April 2017, he was appointed as the director of the National Institute of Japanese Literature. Professor Campbell's area of expertise is in early modern and modern Japanese literature, and he has a deep knowledge of Sino-Japanese literature, literary art, arts, media, and thoughts from the late Edo to early Meiji period. As many of you already know, Professor Campbell is active in various media, appearing as a television host and commentator, writing articles for newspapers and magazines, book reviews, as well as producing and appearing on radio programs. Furthermore, from April 2021, he is also a university professor at Waseda University and an advisor for the Waseda International House of Literature, the Haruki Murakami Library. I will now hand over to Mr. Campbell to deliver the congratulatory address.
The first words to all of you that need to be said today should be shouted out in a very clear voice. Congratulations to each and every one of you sitting here today. Unqualified, unvarnished, spelled out in caps and crystal clear. Congratulations. First of all, a shout out to the 80% of the incoming class of 2023 who've actively chosen to study here in Japan, so far from friends and family and everything you know, in order to learn, to grow, to connect, and to see the world and your place in it through a lens and through a language that will serve you in ways none of us can predict beyond decades of accelerating global change. The simple fact that you are here today is cause for jubilation. Chancellor Tanaka mentioned that in his speech. You've all worked very, very hard at school, at home, and many of you have actually worked and are still working for wages in order to get here in the first place. Congratulations also to each and every one of you for being the first in 3 years to actually attend this matriculation ceremony in person. We've all made huge sacrifices in our lives and how we study throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm sure some of us are still struggling to this day, trying to make up for time loss and for deep disturbances, which are reflected globally in the decline of students who, for economic or whatever reasons, have enrolled in college over these last 3 years. Many of you were probably forced to postpone your own travels for a year or more because of border restrictions into Japan or because of difficulties leaving and returning your own home countries. Congratulations for persevering and for preparing to cross the ocean while public restrictions for many of you were still in force. According to one large survey of colleges made in the United States in 2021, 9 out of 10 college students said they'd struggled with isolation, anxiety, and a lack of focus during the epidemic. More recent surveys show us that about 80% of seniors graduating this year feel that the pandemic has affected their readiness to work after graduation. During COVID, the lack of being able to socialize, to talk to new people and with different outlooks and orientations, actually physically moving among them from dormitory to classroom to laboratory, then going out at night and weekends to chill or to volunteer or to participate in some sort of organized activities, left them anxious about taking on actual responsibilities in the workplace. It looks like the entering class of 2023 will at least be able to avoid some of the anxiety caused by enforced social isolation. Waseda University is a great place to study because of the faculty and the diverse body of students here, certainly, and as you'll discover, the facilities are also amazing. I myself am a professor of the humanities, which means I spend a lot of my time searching for old books in the stacks of the Central Library or watching century-old films at the Tsubouchi Memorial Theater Museum. Sometimes you can find me drinking coffee while I read a translation of Haruki Murakami's novels at our brand new Waseda International House of Literature, which is just a few minutes walk across campus from here. The donuts are really, really good, by the way. I recommend that you try one as soon as you can with your friends. One other amazing thing about studying or working here, though, is the fact that we're standing, or today sitting, in the middle of Tokyo, right among some of the oldest surviving parts of the shogun's historical capital, Edo, and at the same time surrounded by the hustle of ultra-modern Tokyo life. On a sunny day between classes, try walking 10 or 15 minutes straight north from campus. The area above Kanda River is dotted with hills, some so steep they were given names like Munatsuki Zaka, or chest-pounding hill. Samurai lords build their grand manors and their gardens on hills way above the town as sanctuaries, away from the poor public hygiene of so-called downtown or shitamachi, literally lower land neighborhoods, which were densely populated by merchant and artisan classes. Infective diseases were one of the leading causes of mortality in early modern Japan. Measles epidemics, for example, washed over the urban population every 24 years or so. And to paraphrase one novelist writing about a surge of infections in 1803, the deadly disease made no distinction at all between lords hiding behind their bamboo curtains and the men down in the stables who tended their horses. The noble samurai men, women, and children who walk the streets around us in Waseda 200 years or 300 years ago would reside here and network with each other, with members of the governing class through Sankin Kotai, a unique Japanese political and cultural system by which Tokugawa period feudal lords were required to spend every other year in Edo, our present-day Tokyo, in order to show their loyalty to the shogun and occasionally to attend his council at the palace. Often these samurai families would build their own private academies on the grounds with libraries, medicinal herb gardens, and aviaries where younger members of the domain could study and sometimes prepare as scholars for a life of education and learning. Many of the greatest poets and painters of the 17th, 18th, and 19th century long era of peace before the 1868 Meiji Restoration would gather here to create and to exchange ideas and information across class lines. The physical environment we exist in is, in other words, never quite an accident, some random result of financial transactions made somewhere far away. Rather, we can often find threads of causality and cultural affinity between what we accept as atarimae, or the obvious, and what occurred at the very place we're standing decades or maybe even centuries ago. Studying at the university is one great way to gain many of the skills we need in order to build our careers and to make important decisions as voters, as consumers, as parents, or teachers of the next generation to follow us on what seems like an impossibly polarized and endangered planet. And there is a synergy involved here, an opportunity for each of us gathered today to expand and to cultivate our understanding of this world through direct contact and action, whether that action be a simple walk by yourself up a steep hill to retrace and envision the lives of men and women who walked on the same path hundreds of years ago, or to reach out even further beyond the campus gates into areas of society we've only heard of or glimpsed at through digital space. Let me tell you about a faraway journey I made recently myself and introduce you to one of the people I met on the way. As we all know, Russia's war in Ukraine has been going on for more than a year and a half. Over 10,000 civilians have been killed in their homes, on the road, and in shelters by missiles and drones, and over 6 million Ukrainian citizens have had to flee their homes, internally displaced or fleeing abroad since February of last year. In fact, the 4 students from Ukraine who join us this year and are with us today were displaced by the aggression and have spent the last year studying Japanese language so that they can be here with us today. I've spent the last few months translating from English into Japanese a book of short personal accounts which were given by over 70 men and women who faced and fortunately were able to escape from the violence of war. Most of them fled to the west through a beautiful ancient city near the Polish border called Lviv, which for hundreds of years has been the urban conduit between eastern regions and Central or Western Europe. Local volunteers from Lviv gathered day and night in the cold after the invasion to begin to greet the displaced, to feed them, to house them, and to see many of them off to points further west. Among them was one man, a poet, who volunteered for the army in late February but was rejected. He was rejected, so what did he do? He decided instead to care for those who arrived in his hometown despondent, hour after hour. The man stood waiting for refugees at the Lviv Central Railway Station, greeting passengers day and night as they came down from the train with hot tea, sweets, and medicine. Most of them were women bringing along children and their pets in cages. As he tended to each of them in the freezing cold, he would listen carefully to what they had to say. The stories that each of them shared with a stranger whose path they crossed accidentally that day would soon form the body of the book I have translated, which in English is titled A Dictionary of War. The poet, his name is Ostap Slivinsky. He helped these strangers overcome what must have been a crippling anxiety, collecting each of their stories in the cold, then arranging them alphabetically by title, which he chose from the words in each story that encapsulated the most important item or idea that he or she brought from the scene of disaster. I visited Lviv in June and was able to spend 2 weeks visiting and talking with him and with those who had fled their homes. Slivinsky wanted to give shape to his collection of testimonies, so he chose the form of a dictionary so that future generations could look back and see precisely how war and the threat of annihilation bends and turns upside down the meanings of the very words we use every day. One story was told to him by Anna, a woman living in Kyiv, who fled west to Lviv early after the assault. One of Anna's most precious, private memories, the sound of an apple falling to the ground, was twisted into something unrecognizable by a missile attack she endured late at night at home in the capital. Let me read you the English version. Apples. That night, I fell asleep in the bathtub in a bucket of blankets and pillows, listening to the most powerful explosions here since the beginning of the war. Long ago, in my past life, I fell deeply in love. The two of us went to a house in the Carpathian Mountains for the first time. It was deep in the autumn. We were falling asleep in an attic, in a bed that was not much more comfortable than my bathtub. And I was listening to apples hitting the ground everywhere in the garden. They were slamming and slamming, large and ripe, at a measured pace throughout the night. I was so happy. Now, I was falling asleep to the sound of missile blasts, and I heard those apples. I just wanted so badly for those garden apples to be hitting the ground all around us now. Precarity is a word we use often these days in English to denote a sense of imbalance or existential anxiety because of something that's gone terribly wrong and is way beyond our control to stop, like climate change or pandemic lockdown or a full-front invasion of your country in the dead of winter. Slivinsky's Dictionary of War invites us to experience, at second hand certainly, particular moments in time and space by showing us how the threat of violence can change the way meanings of words used to manifest and present ourselves day by day. Japan, for some of us here today, is a sanctuary. For the majority, though, living and studying here is simply life, a set of givens, atarimae, obvious in the contours and daily challenges they bring us. The rain, the beautiful sunsets, the bright flowers we'll see families bringing today on the autumn equinox to temple gravesites in order to honor their ancestors. What words would you use to describe your sense of balance or imbalance as you sit here today, about to make the first step into your new journey? Can you imagine yourself walking beside, trying to listen to somebody just like yourself who came to this spot from far away, maybe 200 or 300 years ago, to learn about the world and his place in it? How about someone 5 or 10 years in the future who suffered the fire of war and needs help rebuilding her community? What words would you offer them? What questions would you ask? Words can be translated into actions, and actions have the power either to harm us or to heal us. The next few years will lead you towards a career and will help shape your view of the world in ways, hopefully, that will bring you closer to the joys and to the challenges felt by others at great distances of time and culture and space. I say hopefully because the world will be waiting for these words of yours, and the world certainly shall be needing your actions. Good luck to each and every one of you on every step of the way. Thank you.
I would now like to introduce the senior deans as well as the undergraduate and graduate deans in attendance today. At Waseda University, undergraduate and graduate schools of related disciplines are grouped together into what we refer to as faculties. Senior Dean of the Faculty of Political Science and Economics and Dean of the School of Political Science and Economics, Professor Junichi Saito. Dean of the Graduate School of Political Science, Professor Atsushi Tago. Today, he is away on official business. Dean of the Graduate School of Economics, Professor Masato Shizume. Senior Dean of the Faculty of Letters, Arts and Sciences, and Dean of the School of Humanities and Social Sciences, Professor Hisao Takamatsu. Dean of the School of Culture, Media, and Society, Professor Koshi Odashima. Dean of the Graduate School of Letters, Arts, and Sciences, Professor Kiyotake Oki. Dean of the Graduate School of Commerce, Professor Masashi Okumura. Dean of the Graduate School of Business and Finance, Professor Hitoshi Takehara. Today, he is away on official business. Associate Dean of the Graduate School of Business and Finance, Professor Jusuke Ikegami. Senior Dean of the Faculty of Science and Engineering, Professor Shigeki Sugano. Dean of the School of Fundamental Science and Engineering, and Dean of the Graduate School of Fundamental Science and Engineering, Professor Nozomu Togawa. Dean of the School of Creative Science and Engineering and Dean of the Graduate School of Creative Science and Engineering, Professor Takashi Ariga. Dean of the School of Advanced Science and Engineering and Dean of the Graduate School of Advanced Science and Engineering, Professor Nobuhiro Kanomata. Dean of the Graduate School of Information Production and Systems, Professor Shigeru Fujimura. Today, he is attending the entrance ceremony at the Kitakyushu campus. Dean of the Graduate School of Environment and Energy Engineering, Professor Hiroshi Onoda. Senior Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences and Dean of the School of Social Sciences, Professor Osamu Soda. Dean of the Graduate School of Social Sciences, Professor Yoichi Sato. Dean of the Graduate School of Human Science, Professor Nobuhiro Furuyama. Senior Dean of the Faculty of Sports Sciences and Dean of the School of Sports Sciences, Professor Hirotaka Matsuoka. Dean of the Graduate School of Sports Sciences, Professor Yoshio Nakamura. Senior Dean of the Faculty of International Research and Education and Dean of the School of International Liberal Studies, Professor Satoshi Inaba. Dean of the Graduate School of Asia Pacific Studies, Professor Seiyo Nakajima. Dean of the Graduate School of Japanese Applied Linguistics, Professor Satoshi Miyazaki. Dean of the Graduate School of International Culture and Communication Studies, Professor Mitsuhiro Yoshimoto. Today, he is away on official businesses. This concludes the introduction of senior deans, undergraduate and graduate deans. Next, we will sing the alma mater together. Please stand, remove your hat if you have one, and sing verses 1 through 3. New students, follow the cheerleading club members by raising your right hand high and singing with enthusiasm. You can find the song lyrics on the screen in the front or in the event program. Thank you very much. Please take your seats. This concludes the Fall 2023 Waseda University Entrance Ceremony. Congratulations to all our new students and welcome to Waseda University.